Mm-hmm.
She's
Oh, yeah, she was hard to keep them straight on that.
yeah.
Every time, she figures it doesn't matter, every time she walks in.
Look at everybody.
The same as the last time.
Right, we are live, so,
Ready then.
yeah.
Okay, it is 6 o'clock, so I will call the meeting to order. Let's go ahead and do roll call. Lori Blargen?
Here.
Ian McDonald?
Here?
Matt Foucault? Lacey Oster? Here. Bruce Blargen?
Here.
Marge Will?
Here.
Corey Cole?
Here.
Okay, together we engage, educate, and empower all learners, bridging their passions to pathways to create successful futures and positively contribute to our local and global communities. Looking at approving our agenda tonight, when we go ahead and approve the agenda, if we could do it with an amendment to take off number 6, the proposal for the music department, as they are going to be presenting at our next meeting. There was some conflicts. So is there a motion to approve the agenda with that amendment?
So move.
Is
Second.
there a second? Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I did not receive any public comment. Shannon, did you receive
No.
any public comment? Okay. Then we'll go ahead and we'll go with the recap of general obligation bond sale and have Eric, if you want to present on that, that would be wonderful. If you want to go, yeah, if you want to go right up, because then we can hear with the live stream for the microphone. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Eric Cass. I'm the Director of Public Finance for PMA. Appreciate the opportunity to kind of walk through the results of the issuance that we did earlier today. This has certainly been a culmination of a lot of work, working with Shannon and Dave specifically on putting together different plans and looking at the optimal time to really take the district to market. We are going to be talking about some good news here in a second, but rates have certainly dropped significantly over the last 2 to 3 months. So kind of staying the course and working with Dave, not rushing into the market once the referendum passed, has certainly yield some positive results which will impact the local economy pretty positively. Want to go to the next slide? So just to recap, so leading into the April 4th, 2023 vote for the $22.9 million capital referendum, 3 key components were building the projection around one single issuance for the full $22.9 million. Just to add a little color to that, a lot of times when we work with school districts, we will chop that up a little bit and align it to the construction schedule and look at how quickly it's going to be spent down and things of that nature. But we had contemplated the single issuance even pre-April 4th, 2023. We were assuming at that time an interest rate of 4.75%, and I'll show you a little history as it relates to interest rates over the last year and how we came up with that figure and where we're at today. And then just bringing that full circle, which I'll come back and comment on that, the total interest expense was just short of $13.5 million for a repayment schedule of 20 years, which is the maximum under Wisconsin state law that we can structure the debt around for a school district. What you're looking at here looks a little bit weird, but this is looking at from January of 2004 all the way through January of 2024, so as of last Friday, just a lot of volatility in the interest rate environment. So that blue line is actually the 20-year average, and we're right at that right now. So it is a very decent time to issue debt. Of course, if we could rewind and take advantage of the low interest rate environment during COVID, we certainly would. That's skewing that average down quite a bit. But what you're going to notice here, and I'll expand in the next slide, is that there's been a significant decline over the last 2.5 months that's allowed us to bring forward some very competitive results here that we saw at 10 o'clock this morning. So breaking that down, this is from the beginning, actually from the vote date on April 4th, 2023, and the average over the year here and where we're at today. So fast forward all the way today. So you can see that over that time, a lot of the reason why we were sitting and waiting and aligning and waiting till we needed to borrow was because we saw this significant increase all the way through the summer. So a lot of that had to do with the Federal Reserve. If you're paying attention to the economy, they're fighting inflation pretty heavily. So a lot of that is really wrapped up into what the Federal Reserve's been doing. And then you can see here that we've seen some significant decline in a lot that happened actually from Halloween, October 31st to November 1st is the most significant drop that we saw in the municipal market. And again, very advantageous for the school district and the results that I'm going to walk through here in 1 second. So what did we do? We worked with David Shannon. It's been a culmination of probably a 3-month process in developing a lot of documents, going through rating calls, and identifying the opportunity for the school district. So we did receive bids this morning at 10 a.m. We were happy with the response. There were 5 respondents all listed there. And the recommendation, which I'll touch on here in the next slide, is to award to Mesereau Financial. We really look at this on whoever's going to provide the lowest rate and is a qualified underwriter with the appropriate investors is the best avenue for any school district to go towards through a competitive sale. So we were very happy with the results with that true interest cost of 3.81%. That's footnoted there at the bottom of the page. Just a little bit more detail to create transparency. So it is $22.9 million school building and facility improvement bonds. Should say 2024, I apologize, missed that one. It is Series 2024. The settlement date, which all that means is when the cash will be deposited, is not today. It'll happen 3 weeks from now on January 29th, 2024, where the school district will receive the full $22.9 million. The payment is over 20 years at this point, from October 1st, 2025 through 2043. The first interest payment will be this fall, October 1st, 2024. And an important component for these debt issuances when they're over 20 years is the call date. So on October 1st, 2032, all the debt outstanding is what's considered callable. That provides 2 opportunities for future school district staff and boards. They can either take advantage of a lower interest rate environment and refund that and keep it outstanding, or at any point there forward, they can pay off that debt more quickly, therefore shortening the amortization, which is something that I know we've worked with Dave on a little bit over the last few years. Some good news is that the S&P rating was affirmed at a AA-, so high investment grade quality, very strong metrics here, and I'll touch on the rating report, which is part of the presentation here lightly at the end. But we're very happy to get an affirmation of the AA- rating for the school district. Again, we had projected a 4.75, and with those rates dropping, we were able to realize a 3.81%, or quite a drastic reduction in our original projection. So bringing it full circle to that first slide, so we are continuing down the path with that single issue for $22.9 million to provide liquidity for the draw schedule associated with the projects. The interest rate is locked in at 3.81%, and as I alluded to earlier, the total interest expense, if there are no prepayments or future refundings that I talked about with that call date, the total interest outlay will be $10.75 million, or just short of that, again, assuming no prepayment, which is a reduction of just over $2.75 million when we compare it to the original tax commitment and conversations that were had prior to the vote date on April 4th, 2023. So I'd like to show this because this is that, and I know it's a little bit small, but this is the actual principal repayment. So you can see that what we've done is we've wrapped it around existing debt, and what we've targeted is a level tax levy. So this is the levy that the board approved in the fall of 2023 for the current year that we're in. And you can see for a period of 5 years, we match that. So this will not create not only a mill rate increase, but no tax levy increase for a period of 5 years. And then what we were able to do with the lower interest rates is we were able to drop that by $1 million for years 6 through 20. So again, this assumes no prepayment, no refundings. It's just static fixed rate. It can't change unless you choose for it to change through a refunding in 2032 or beyond. And so I think it's a highlight of the plan to provide future tax flexibility for the school board 6 years out from now, where it's a minimum drop of $1 million, again, assuming that no prepayments or refunding are taken advantage of in the future. So just wanted to highlight that for the school board. And then touch on ever so slightly, if you could go down a couple pages, this is the full rating report. It's certainly there's a lot of information in there, but what I like to highlight is one thing. You can see here that the AA- is stable. It is affirmed for your long-term debt, which is great. If you go down to the next page, the piece that I always like to focus on very quickly, I'm trying to get my bearings here, stop, is the downside scenario. So in the future, what S&P does is on an annual basis when you have outstanding debt, they'll do surveillance on the school district outstanding debt. And you are at risk of a degrade or a downgrade in your rating, but also an upgrade. So downside scenarios you'll see here is the rating budgetary pressure. So if the school district finds itself in the future with fiscal imbalance, that's just the fancy way of saying if you start to draw down fund balance, if you start to have downward pressure on your annual budget, it certainly is a key metric that they'd be looking at for a potential decline in the rating. But also upside scenario, the rating could improve if the district significantly adds increases, so just increasing fund balance. So I know your fund balance trend has been fairly stable, And who knows what the next biennial budget into the future will look like. But just like to highlight that the biggest key metric that they see from a rating perspective is just really centered around the use or addition to that fund balance long-term, which, again, it's not going to impact the interest rate or anything, but we always like to maintain a stable or improving credit rating as we look to the future of the fundings or any other needs that school board might identify in the future. So with that, we'd be happy to answer any questions if you had them prior to any consideration of the final approval.
Sounds like good news.
Yeah, we're very happy with the sale.
Great. Any questions for Eric? Okay, thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for making the trip.
Yeah, of course.
We came from Milwaukee.
Oh my goodness.
Anybody coming to Milwaukee to visit me next year?
Thank you.
Yes.
An extra thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
Okay, moving on to our district school resource officer report.
All right, my name's John, Sergeant Somerset Police Department, and assigned to the school resource officer position. I did pass out some paper reports, which I'll go over now, but this report is covering from August 29th to January 5th. There was a total of 78 school days. Of those 78 days, I worked 219 hours at the district, which is above the contracted total of 144 hours. During that time, I handled 70 requests for service at the Somerset School District. School requests for service include the meetings, planned classroom visits, investigations of crimes and ordinance violations, extracurricular events, and directed school traffic patrols. Calls or requests for service handled by other Somerset police officers when I was unavailable are included in the count. However, the additional hours and visits are not. I did attach to the back, when the officers visit other schools, they do sign in with the date and time they're there. So it's been a great year in the district so far. I'm happy to be back working with the district. I look forward to more of them and continue to strive for the goal of being highly visible and approachable to the students and staff, and believe I'm meeting that goal. I've had students and staff approach me for questions about laws, and we do have an upcoming presentation to it's not a classroom, but students in a classroom are interested in being law enforcement officers or interested in the career. So that's going to happen Thursday. So that's exciting. I think there was over 20 that have interest, which is good. We need good cops, so I think that's good. That's all I have. I know it's kind of a shortened report, but is there any questions?
Do you want to just speak to the sign-in sheet? So when officers are stopping by, kind of what are they doing in the buildings? What does that look like?
Yeah, so the officers are stopping by. I should have wrote which building's which, and I put them all together and didn't realize I didn't have the building of what's what on top. But they stop by, visit with the staff in the office, walk the building. If there's any kids out and about, just say hi. It's nothing like formal. They're not showing up for a formal thing. So if they were called there, they wouldn't be signing in, but they're just showing up throughout their patrol. And it's the day shift officers that are showing up. That's why you're seeing the same names over and over. Of course, our night shift doesn't make sense for them to walk through unless something's wrong. So, does that answer the question?
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thanks for all you do.
Mhm. Thank you.
Okay, looking forward at our JA Counter Health Partners update. And that's you, Linda.
Yeah, good to see everyone. Happy Monday. And I just want to start by saying thank you for your service. Honestly, I appreciate what you guys do on behalf of everybody in the district, including, I mean, we're Somerset School District's residents as well. So thank you for devoting your time to helping with this. I am here on behalf of JA Counter Alert Group to basically go through an update of where we're at with the health plan, with the benefit strategy overall. We got together about, I would say probably a little over a month ago, to just every year we get together and we reevaluate strategy, goal setting, priorities for the district based on feedback, claims data, you know, budgetary constraints, those type of things. So I'm just going to give you an update as to where we're at. So we'll just start a little bit, you can flip even to the next slide, just start a little bit with the claims experience relative to the medical plan, since that's your biggest cost driver in the district. But when we look at where your claims are coming in, you'll see the claims divided between what we call, this first section is the Somerset School District claims, and then they have this thing called an aggregate. That's the benchmark, that's the Health Partners benchmark that they're comparing you against. So when I'm looking at that and looking at a per member per month spend, you're running under the aggregate or better than their book of business, but you're trending up about 6% year over year when we look at the full 12-month rolling based on this data. So all in all, your claims are up a little bit. The plan experience overall is up about $100,000 in spend. But I will give you a huge compliment through our data analytics tool. We're able to evaluate different plans and how people are utilizing the plan. And Somerset School District's plan has the highest utilization of preventive care services of all of the groups that we manage, literally across the country. And that is very much in part due to the investment in time that the district has made in their wellness programming and encouraging and enticing people through a premium differential to participate in these screenings and get those things checked out while things are small, and instead of waiting till things are big and it costs a lot more to treat. So kudos to the team on that and the work that's been done to make that happen. When we look at the revenue versus claims, this would be like the premiums that you pay versus the claims that are being paid out for Health Partners. You're running at about 106%. Now this is higher than last year. Last year at this exact time you were running at 99%. So it's a little bit higher. I think some of that's being driven by what I would consider a couple of bad months in this 12-month period. I think we're probably going to see this trend better. But we are seeing a little bit more elevated risk present in the group. So our membership, even though we've got an average of 355 members, that's belly buttons in the plan, membership average is 355, we've actually seen a decrease in membership in the plan just a little bit this year. So that's not always a good thing because that means revenue is lower, and if the claims are still where they're at, that could present an issue as we move forward. And just some year-over-year trends data. This is just a little bit different report showing the per member per month spend is up about 10%. But I just want you to know that's still below the benchmark in both medical and RX spending. So even though we're seeing claims go up, you're still doing really good relative to your peers. It's just that loss ratio that we have to be concerned with, because that's the premium that you pay that could change then as of your renewal based on your claims experience. Okay, so overall that means a good population health. And then this is just another trend, another trend graphic to just be able to show how the plan has trended fairly flat over the last couple, since 2019, we've trended fairly flat. It's only been in the most recent year that we're starting to see an uptick in risk associated with the plan. And that's primarily driven by some high cost claimants in the plan. On the dental plan, you're running great. You're running at about an 82% loss ratio. Again, what that means is for every dollar paid in, Health Partners has paid out 82 cents. So that's just the claims broken out by month. And if you flip one more page down, I just want to emphasize that we've gotten feedback from employees that they absolutely love this dental program because of Health Partners' Little Partners program. And they also have a program that covers, so Little Partners covers 100% of all dental expenses for children under age 12. So even if they bring them for a ride in the dental chair at the dentist's office, it's all free. They also have an enhanced dental benefit available to them which covers extra cleanings for pregnancy and diabetes, folks that are diagnosed with diabetes. And those have both been commented on and very well received by the employees, along with your plan design itself. So let's talk a little bit about benchmarking. You can actually scroll down to the next one. You've got two different plans that you're offering your employees, one plan for full year staff, and one plan for school year staff. There is a little bit of a typo on the screen, I apologize. I will get a corrected version out, but this is incorrect. The net exposure for the employees this year, let me back up. Your deductible is $4,000, but between, there's an HRA contribution that's there to help lower the employees' exposures. So between the HRA and the HSA contributions, the employees have a pretty low net exposure relative to their peers. So that particular plan design, when we show the benchmarking data, and you can flip to the next page. When we show that, oh, this is really hard to see, wowzer. But trust me when I tell you, relative to, we benchmarked your plan against national, Midwest, Western Wisconsin, and then specifically in the education public sector. And really your plan design overall is from a deductible net exposure for employees. You're very, very well in the ballpark, if not better than most on your health plan. And when we look at the premiums that the employees pay, the premiums are also better than most. So overall, I think what you're offering from a total rewards perspective, employees have been very verbal about the fact that they appreciate it. It's very helpful and valuable to them and their families as a benefit for the district. They also have the ability to participate in this wellness programming, right? That gives them a discount, an additional discount in the premiums that they pay. So it's an added value. And then also with your dental plan as well, both premium-wise and exposure-wise, much better, actually, but you're beating the benchmarks by far with a $0 deductible and the benefit plan and a much richer benefit relative to the peers that we measure against. And then the next slide is just showing the premiums. Again, the employee premiums that the employees pay are lower relative to benchmarks. So overall, this is a great story relative to the total overall package. So as we look at some of the accomplishments, every year when we get together, we revisit, we basically put together a strategic plan, and we're always revisiting goals associated with some key performance indicators. So 3 of the key performance indicators are real employee focused relative to helping be there for the employee when they have a claim, before, during, and after the claims process, help them understand the value of the benefits and really understand their role as healthcare consumers. And on the employer or organizational focus side, we're setting goals around making sure the plan's in compliance and we're following compliance rules. We're setting goals around cost management and using administrative burden and just forward looking. So some of the accomplishments that we've had this year.
Next one.
Yeah. Oops, sorry about that's. We don't need to go through this, but this is our. We created a few years back a benefit philosophy relative to the decisions that are made relative for the overall total rewards compensation program. So we try to review that every year, make sure that the decisions that are being made and the things that we're planning out in our plan follow the overall benefit philosophy. So we've had some accomplishments this year relative to the plans that are being offered, being at or above benchmarks. We're continuing to look at new ways to be able to enhance the open enrollment process and the education for the employees, including year-round education relative to the benefits and the value adds that come with the benefit program to help employees engage. And there's been a big investment in time investment, not financial investment, in trying to help people understand the resources around behavioral health for employees and their family members. And then also promotion around pregnancy care and disease management programs with health partners, which all of that we will continue to do, but we did think that those were some of the things we really focused on this year. And as we look forward, we really want to re-engage the wellness committee and get folks, get a wellness committee established again, reestablished and focused on what can we do to, we did a survey earlier in the year relative to wellness specifically, and review the results this fall, and we want to establish the wellness committee again to be able to say, what are we gonna do with this now? Let's put a plan together, kind of revamp our wellness strategy. We're also planning on doing an employee value perception survey, which is another survey, but it's not specific around wellness. It's more about how do the benefits make me feel? Do they make me feel like a valued member of the district? Is it a differentiator that's gonna make me stay or not stay? You know, what do I value in a health plan? What do I value? Those types of things. So we're gonna be kicking that off and using that as a part of our strategic planning process for this next year. And then, again, celebrating primary care and making sure we keep that focus around primary care and getting people engaged with a primary care provider and getting those screenings done so we can catch things when they're early. And then providing, support for folks. The other thing, I'm just gonna close by saying next year, or this coming renewal, we will need to adjust the deductible again. We had to do it this year, adjusting the deductible upwards because the IRS requires us to have a minimum exposure for employees to be able to qualify for that great HSA benefit. And so every year, not every year, but many years, we've had to adjust that or ratchet that up a little bit to meet those minimum requirements. And we'll have to do that again this year in 2024. Any questions?
Thank you for all the information.
Yeah.
When do you think this will be going out for, when will we have our updated numbers?
For renewal, for
Yes.
2024?
Yeah.
We usually get those in late March, early April. Okay? About that? I'm gonna say early April. Anything else?
Oh, it's good, thanks for the staff, they're doing a good job.
Yeah, they're doing great. We've got great engagement. This is a picture perfect engagement district, so appreciate that.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, Shannon, we'll move on to your superintendent report.
Yep.
Sorry, you're back and forth today.
Yeah, last time, I think. Okay, so I have a couple things on my agenda. So the first one you'll see is a memo regarding summer school. I'm hoping that we can take some action on this, so I'm assuming you had a chance to take a look. Just kind of outlines the plan for summer school this year, which will have to be altered a bit due to our construction with the referendum. So basically, after our final day of school this year, the elementary will be shut down and not available due to the significant amount of work that will be happening inside as well as on the playground. So we'll be a little bit creative in terms of relocating some of those courses that are typically at the elementary school and use classrooms and spaces in the middle school, high school, and then potentially the back rooms here in the district office as well. Based off of analyzing some data, getting some feedback from staff, we did a survey about a year ago with families in terms of trying to find that sweet spot regarding our summer school dates. In the past, we've done 3 weeks and 3 weeks, 5 days per week. Last year we went down to 4 days per week because our attendance as the week goes on throughout the summer starts to dwindle a bit as we get closer to Friday. Looking at our summer school numbers from last year, the 5 days to 4 days, made very little, minimal impact on revenue, which was good because that was something that we were trying to monitor. But this year, proposing, and mainly due to the construction and wanting to clear people off campus as quickly as possible, we are going to return back to 5 days per week and run it for 5 weeks. So we'll do the 3 weeks, then we'll have off of 4th of July and then come back for 2 more weeks. One of the biggest pieces of feedback we've heard from staff is the longer it goes into the summer, the shorter amount of time they have between teaching summer school and going back to school. For some, that is a deterrent from teaching summer school, so we want to make sure that we get as many staff as possible. So we're going to give this a try, but again, mainly this year, this is driven by necessity with the construction, but I'm curious to see if, again, kind of playing with those weeks and days, if we can find that middle ground where we still get really good attendance from our students, but still allow staff to have what they feel like a significant amount of time between summer school and school starting back again. Any questions on summer school?
So if it's an odd number of weeks like it is, will it just be completely, before it's like, okay, session 1, session 2, so just kind of revamping all of that?
A little bit. So session 2, we'll just have to be mindful that those courses are just going to be 2 weeks, and unless it's something, of course, it's 6 weeks. But I do have later in the agenda in our personnel document a recommendation for a summer school coordinator. So hopefully we get that approved tonight, and we'll dive a little bit further into analyzing some of those structures and kind of get that going. So
Being creative with the shorter courses, 2 weeks.
Yep.
longer 2 weeks.
Yep.
And this is something you are requesting that we take action on tonight?
Yes, please.
So is there any other questions for Shannon, or is there a motion to approve the summer school for possible action?
It's on the personnel update. Oh, you want this? Or you-
Just this memo, yep,
Just the
regarding
memo
summer
So
school.
they can go forward then as far as dates and planning.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the memo as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second, and I just wanted to add the comment that by adding that 5th day back in, we're really not losing any time
Mhm.
from what we did last summer with the 4-day weeks of 6
Yep.
weeks.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Okay, so the next 2 items I have, B and C, those are not things that need action tonight. Those are on the agenda for first reading. One is the 24-25 open enrollment chart. I noticed today, earlier in the day, that I had the 23-24 chart attached. So this is now the updated version in case you looked at the previous one. That one was linked by mistake. So this is something by DPI we have to do every year. Really just kind of outlines the space that we have available within our sections based off of building space. This does not dictate how many sections we have in grade levels or things like that. This is really just as we get paperwork for students wanting to open enroll into the district. We often will go to this document once approved at the next meeting and use it as a guide to make sure that we have room in our grades to be able to take on more kids. It has typically not been an issue. Most of the time when we look at this chart, we use it when we have students applying for open enrollment that are supported by an IEP. Then we look closer to see and make sure we have space in those programs. So this chart is updated every year, brought in front of the board every year, required by DPI. If you have questions, happy to answer those. But at this point, specifically, if you look at the top half of the chart, you can see that we've got space according to how this chart functions in terms of bringing in students, obviously, for open enrollment.
So Shannon, the available spaces, I don't know how to ask this so it's clear what I'm asking. So we already have kids who are open enrolling.
Correct.
So are their spaces included
Yes.
in these numbers?
Yes.
So we really don't have, for example, in 2nd grade, 17 more spaces because some of those are already taken by kids, perhaps?
No, the way that DPI looks at this is we have 17 more spaces based off of literally the space we have available in our buildings and in our classrooms. So the kids that are already attending our district that are here through open enrollment, for the purposes of this document, function just as a student that was here as a resident.
Okay,
Mhm.
that's what I wanted to know.
Yep.
Thank you.
Other documents and other things, my answer might be different, but for this, that's how this is viewed. Mhm. So if there's no questions, as I said, this will come back the next meeting for formal approval. If you have questions between now and then, certainly let me know. And then, sorry, I got too many tabs up. So letter C is bringing before you our recommendation for the 24-25 district calendar. We had this year, I would say, some interesting challenges with our dates just based off of how some of the holidays fall. And needing to make some decisions in terms of when we have potentially professional learning days and conferences and things like that. Again, I'm assuming that you looked at this ahead of time, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. You can see on the sides of both of the columns, it lists out how many student days there are for each individual month, how many teacher days there are for each individual month. You know, they're based off of teacher and certified staff contracts. There's a certain amount of days that we have to make sure that we have on the calendar, so obviously we take that into account. You know, one thing, for example, that we looked at pretty heavily was that first week in January. You see, we would come back technically on Thursday the 2nd. We decided to make those 2 days professional learning days. We've had good feedback informally from staff once this kind of went out. I think people were happy about having a little bit more of an extended break between you know, Christmas and New Year's. You know, again, things we take into account, you know, trying to line up when we can. Conferences align somewhat close to professional learning days because we know those days are long and late for staff, so kind of coming back as a little bit of a soft landing. Looking at when we have state testing, typically the ACT in March will dictate when we have our spring break. So there's some things that really don't change year to year, you know, but trying to be diligent with, again, when we have our professional learning days, trying to keep those as consistent as possible. Also trying to line up those days with either end of a trimester or end of a semester, because we do use some of those days for grading and report cards and those kinds of things. So a little bit complex from time to time, but this calendar in particular, there aren't any what I would consider significant changes from how we've been doing business the last couple of years.
Can you tell us what the difference is between student contact days for this proposed calendar compared to this current year that we're in?
I can email it to you.
Okay,
I don't have it in front of me.
all right.
Mm-hmm.
I was just looking at it now, and those numbers in the past have been included in the notes section
Oh,
of the current,
sure.
and it's not
I can
on
add
this
that.
one.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
I have a comment and a question. I'm happy to see the staggered start, just a little bit different with the grade makeup instead of like every other grade. I think that makes, as a parent, it makes much more sense to kind of have it grouped together versus I was like, okay, you know,
Sure.
I like how that was considered there. And I just have a question if it was, and I think I brought this up last year with calendar wise, but I know that the response last year was that staff really likes PD days on Mondays, but if it was just brought up again to alter that at all with PD days on a Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I know that the feedback, I think I asked this last year, was good, but just I think a parent perspective,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel this way as a parent, I know I've heard this from other parents, is to just always have that Monday as a PD day. And I
Mhm.
think sometimes parents, as far as planning, just my 2 cents,
Sure.
I just didn't know if it was discussed at all. Because I know sometimes it had been, was it a couple years ago, it was like, okay, this month it'd be a Friday, the next month it'd be a Monday.
Mhm.
Friday, Monday, just to kind of alter, I think, a little bit, that it wasn't always, just like even with, and I guess it's not as much like spring break this year, it's not the Monday after, but like Thanksgiving, you have, you know, families home for that period of time and then tack on that Monday.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I think, that's just feedback I've heard personally
Sure.
from families. But I just didn't know if it was discussed at all, not always doing Mondays.
So I would say we do discuss it. In terms of a parent perspective, I'm not sure the last time we've done any type of like parent survey. I've informally heard it both ways. I've
Yeah.
heard some that prefer it's consistent, and I've heard some that, right, there's,
Right, you can't, and I get
Yep,
that, I was just
yep.
curious, because I know, you know, I've heard somewhere, okay, if it's always a Monday, where if you're alternating, it's like, okay, for some parents, Fridays are just a lot easier
Work better,
to
yeah.
take off
Yep.
versus a Monday, or,
Yep.
or just that, I've heard more, I think, feedback from parents is just, and I think it works really nice, like especially those January dates, okay, instead of bringing back for 2 days, like
Yep.
have that PD those
Yep.
2 days. But I've just heard sometimes like, oh, okay, we have this break, and oh wait, now they're off Monday, you know, that Monday is
Mhm.
off. And then I think even when you look at the learning of students, then you create another week that isn't a full week for them. But was just curious.
Mhm.
It's not anything that.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments with the calendar? Okay.
All right, so that will come back the next meeting, and before then, I'll add that to the note section. Lori, you had requested?
Yeah, but I'm talking about the current calendar. There's no total in the 23-24 calendar.
Oh, the one we have right now?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's not listed there, so I can't look myself without going through and counting.
Got it, okay.
Because, yeah, you have it over on the side.
Yeah. I thought you were asking about something different. I understand what you're saying now. Okay, then the final thing I have is just more informational. So we had 7 candidates submit their paperwork for our upcoming school board election. We have 3 seats available. Because we hit the number 7 based off of state statute, we need to run a primary and get that number down to 6. So we will run a primary on February 20th. Candidates will receive an email tomorrow with a survey to complete regarding some questions, some bio information, and we will put that in the January 19th scoop for a couple weeks. We'll put it on our Facebook page as well. And then in that email, they will also be invited to speak at one of our next upcoming board meetings during public comment. If people are interested in taking a few minutes just to tell the community, just another way to be able to let people know who they are and what they're about. But if people have questions, definitely let me know. I think Alicia and I feel like we have a good handle on the primary process, so I think we're good to go there. Ian did his clerk duties tonight and drew names out of a cup in terms of how the names will align on the ballot, so I will release that information tomorrow as well. But otherwise, I think we are in good shape, and I'm thankful we have 7 people interested in wanting to be a part of what we're doing and serve on the board, because it's a big job, and not an easy job, but I'm super excited to see all the engagement. I think it'll be a good thing. So
When was the last time there was a primary?
I'll ask her. Yeah, she didn't mention that one.
District 2. Thought there was gonna be primary.
What's that?
I believe it's District 2. There was gonna be a primary.
I'll ask her. Yeah.
Did you have another question there?
Nope, that was it.
Okay, that's all I have.
Okay. Then moving on to the 2024 proposed resolutions for WASB. This is all linked here. As of now, nobody is planning on going to the convention, correct? Okay. So really, this is more for our information, since nobody will be there to vote on our end. It's listed there as far as what the proposed resolutions are. And I don't, if you've taken the time to look at this prior, or take the time to look at it now and later, it's kind of here for you. If anybody wants to make any comments or has specific questions. Lori, I know you had spoken to the resolutions. Is there anything you want to add or say?
Well, just
towards that?
that there, typically, when we go to the convention, typically these resolutions pass. And some of the ones that I found noteworthy and I'm thankful that WASB is addressing is the funding of the Office of School Safety, the state-funded educational technology initiative, the support of increasing per pupil revenue limits statewide linked to the CPI, giving school districts choices in how they calculate our enrollment. The choices were a 5-year rolling average, a 3-year rolling average, or what we specifically have in our schools for that year. And also supporting 100% FTE counts for summer school. With our summer school being pretty robust, that would be a help for us financially. Just because WASB passes these resolutions doesn't mean they're gonna happen, but it's getting it out there, and we could also write to our representatives and encourage support of these resolutions through legislation.
Thank you. Anything else to add or questions?
Well, the addition of the resolution, but I think that was by the Milwaukee School District, which is really important. It has to do with the testing of kids who are not English proficient. State law requires that you provide testing in their native language. And our current bill that has to do with reading and screening is saying that they have to be tested only in English. So I totally support that as well.
That's until they're proficient enough in English to take
It's-
the test.
Exactly.
Great. Okay, then moving on, this isn't anything for action or that it'll be on again, but if you open up, I wanted to take time as a board to look at policy 144.5. I think this has just kind of come up, and in the past, we've done policies if kind of they apply or to review, and I just want to make sure that as a board, we have time to review our policy regarding board member behavior, communication, and code of conduct. If you haven't had a chance to look this over, I encourage you to take the time to look it over and know, just I think as we're reading this, what our expectations as board members are. I think many of us are aware of these, but I think sometimes board expectations and our behavior needs to be reviewed every now and then. So I encourage you to take the time to review this policy as a board member. And I want to just have special looking at specifically under general expectations of all board members. Obviously, these are expectations, everyone is important, but I just want to look at G, and I think this was kind of created out of our past meeting, and I think looking at treating others with respect and dignity at all times, and always communicating in a way that does, not violate or illustrate disregard for a board policy concerning harassment or discrimination. There are other pieces I think that also they're all important, but I just think it's very important that all of us take a time to review that. Any questions or things to add with reviewing that specific policy? Okay, then kind of tacked onto that, it's kind of an appropriate time as we're looking at, reviewing that policy for us as board members, reviewing our goals as board members, and with it being a time that we're reviewing administration and people within our district, kind of a time for us as a board to look at what were the goals that we set for this year, and a time to kind of reflect on ourselves. One of the things that I noticed in one of the policies as far as reviewing the superintendent is also reviewing ourselves as a board and reflecting on our positives and weaknesses. What are things that we really need to focus on working at, and what are some areas that we've really grown, and looking at all of those pieces. So our goals are listed there. Our 3 goals to support administration with setting 2 superintendent progress feedback sessions, and encouraging and supporting professional development of the superintendent, along with actions will match and understand board roles. Our second goal was the support of the strategic plan process, so being able to explain the components and purpose of the strategic plan, along with reviewing progress and action steps. And then our third goal was ongoing board development, so support the purpose of ongoing board development, establish board development schedule, and attend and complete expected tasks as requested. If you are all okay with this, after just kind of reviewing what our Board of Education goals were, my plan was to send out, and we did this probably about 7 months ago, where we can then evaluate ourselves and then compile kind of a self-evaluation for us as a board.
So you're gonna send a document?
Yes, I'll send a document out that we can do our self-evaluation. And then moving forward, and I'll kind of get to this, thought it would be maybe helpful to have our compiled self-evaluations for our board retreat. To kind of have that data together. And I think sometimes self-evaluation can be good. So I will send that out. It won't take long, just to do a self-evaluation of yourself and ourself as a whole, as a board together. Is that okay with everyone? Okay. Then moving on with the agenda, currently there is, and this can go with discussion as well, an upcoming board retreat with Dr. Pritzel. It's currently scheduled for February 12th, and in talking with Shannon prior to the meeting, that is kind of a date there's not a lot of dates to pick from. So looking at going ahead, if you are unable to attend, at this point it looks like that's kind of the date we have to go with, otherwise it won't happen for months after. As that's what was gonna be on the calendar. And then looking at that is already a board meeting night. So then discussion as far as moving our meeting up to 5 o'clock versus 6 o'clock to accommodate for that time.
The board meeting?
The board meeting would be moved to 5 o'clock, and then we'd follow with board development.
Yeah, I'm fine with
And maybe if you're not available to message me separate, I think hopefully the majority of us are available, since, like I said, it's not something that we can say, oh, we'll do it the next week instead. It would be months out, but just to kind of do a check-in with him and some development at that time.
that. Changing the time next week, or would it look back?
Yes.
Or are we approving that tonight?
Why don't people message me separate as far, and then we'll put it on to approve that time at our next meeting.
So the board meeting would begin at 5 PM, you said?
5 PM on the 12th. And that's just,
It's a work session.
yeah, it's a work session, and then we would just go directly into board development.
So we won't have to skip all this discussion.
Correct.
Good. Okay.
Okay. Any other questions with that? Okay. Then moving forward, our topics for action. There is, Shannon, did you want to speak at all to the personnel update with summer school, or just what it said there?
Nope.
That was
Should be.
newly added,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like this afternoon,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Okay, awesome.
She's great.
Yeah, awesome.
Awesome.
So is there someone who would like to take action for our personnel updates, resolution, and invoices?
Do you want the resolution be separate or not? Does it matter?
It needs to be, where is it, hang on, I got the minutes up, just a minute. It can be part of all of it together, it doesn't have to be separate.
I'll make a motion to approve 13A, 1 and 2, B1, and C1.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, looking at our district celebrations. Bruce, do you want to start?
Sure. Love to. So Friday night we had the boys and girls varsity basketball games and JV basketball games in Somerset. So just, again, I mean, that's a lot of work for our school, so all the administrators and the staff students, community members, who work the ticket tables and work the head table at both schools. I mean, that was, everyone starts their day at 6 in the morning and they were here until 8:30 that night doing all that. I mean, so that was awesome. Live stream team running 2 games back to back. I mean, it's a lot. It's a long night. So, and that went awesome. It was great to be there. We won both games. So just everybody who takes that extra time. I mean, there's a lot of people who aren't paid for it or just here till that late. And then same thing on Saturday. Then we had a basketball tournament for the youth program. And again, with the students that were there and the community members that were there just to help run those tournaments, the refs, community members, teachers, other staff, doing all that. Just, I mean, everyone in our community there raising money for the students. It's great just to share everyone out. So thanks for everybody who does that. And then, Ian, do you know what day is it? The 10th, the Music Boosters? So February 10th, the Music Boosters have casino night at River's Edge from 5 to 9.
5:30.
5:30.
That's what the Spartan Scoop said, maybe if you buy,
5 to 9.
if you buy the special ticket for the dinner.
No, you have the wrong bowl. So I think it's, was it $50 per person? So yeah, anyway, it's in the scoop, all the information on it, so just another way to raise some money, and they'll present next meeting too, about what they're kind of raising it for.
Mhm.
But, yeah, just get out, support that stuff for the community, that's all I got.
Awesome. Marge?
Agree with what you're saying.
Corey?
Nothing for me, thanks.
Okay. Lori?
In addition to what Bruce mentioned, thank you to our 3 former students, Ben and Jet and Liv, who spent some time with our current junior class, talking about their experiences after graduating from SHS. And thank you again to Leslie Thomas for her continued work with the DCF Child Care Counts and earning another award.
Ian?
Yes, that, and it's great to see so much interest and people wanting to be on the board. And good luck to all of them.
I have nothing. So is there a motion to adjourn into closed session of the board pursuant to Wisconsin statute section 1985-1C to consider the employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of a public employee over which the board has jurisdiction?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
A second.
Okay, we'll go ahead and do a roll call vote. Bruce?
Yes.
Marge?
Yes.
Corey?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Ian?
Yes.
Myself? Yes. Okay, we will now enter into closed session.